agriculture should be included in the ETS?
Well, the government's view is that including agricultural emissions within the ETS currently would send only one signal, and that is to reduce stock numbers. And that would be unwise, particularly given that New Zealand dairy, beef, lamb industries have a smaller carbon footprint than many internationally that would be replaced. So no, the government is not giving consideration to adding those agricultural emissions into the emissions trading scheme. We're putting our energy and our focus into a very ambitious global research program so that we can find the technologies for which we can grow our agricultural industries but reduce those greenhouse gas emissions.
But that's directly in direct opposition to what the OECD report is saying. It's saying you need to give a clear indication of when you're going to include that in it.
The OECD is a report, it has recommendations, it's just been tabled today, but no, our government has no plans to add agricultural emissions to the emissions trading scheme. We don't think the scheme could cope with the uncertainties that are associated, for instance, with the measurement of agricultural emissions at this point, of which there are still substantive uncertainties, and secondly, unless farmers have practical technologies in which they can reduce those methane and those nitrous oxide emissions, then putting them into the ETS would only see an incentive for farmers to reduce production.
Wouldn't reducing production actually be what's beneficial for the environment?
Well, our government's very plain. We are a blue-green government that wants to grow the economy, provide good jobs, good incomes for New Zealanders, grow our exports, but also make sure that we improve the environment. And it is a consequence of having that dual objective that we look further than just environmental issues in our overall policy program.
But growing the economy is clearly coming at the cost of the environment.
But if you look at our government's program, we are doing exactly as the OECD recommends in putting in place limits. So, for instance, the report rightly highlights that the issue of nitrates in our waterways is a growing problem. Our government has been very active in setting national requirements on regional councils to set limits. We now have over 20 catchments across New Zealand when the level of nitrates is capped, as compared with not a single one 8 years ago when we came to government. So we accept the OECD's message that there is limits, but we want to implement those in a sophisticated way that recognises that not all regions and waterways in New Zealand are the same.
The report recommends introducing enviro taxes. Have you considered any of those?
Oh yes, we have. In fact, our government has introduced more than any other government in New Zealand's history. In 2009, we introduced the charges on waste, which means that every tonne of waste that goes to any landfill in New Zealand gets a $10 charge. We introduced the emissions trading scheme on the 1st of July 2010 that is actually one of the most broad-ranging in the world, whether you are a coal-emitting power station, whether you are a burner of gas, whether you're taking a domestic flight, or whether you're using petrol or diesel. Today you are paying a price for those carbon emissions, and we're actually stepping that price up with the additional charges on the 1st of January this year, next year and the year after. Now, these areas are complex, they need to be done with care. We set up a technical advisory group specifically on the issue of the allocation and pricing of water. We're open-minded to these ideas, but we also say they're complex and need to be done with care.
It says we need to do a lot more in that area though. It's saying we're far lower than a lot of other countries. Do you not think there's room to up those taxes?
We're open-minded about where you might sensibly extend pricing tools. The report notes that both with waste and with the emissions trading scheme on carbon emissions and on the nitrogen cap and trade scheme in Taupo, that we have done quite a lot. The question is whether we can do more. We're interested in exploring those, but the devil is always in the detail.